If the Novak Djokovic case is not the most extraordinary individual immigration bungle we've ever seen in this country, it's right up there. Now, I won't pretend to understand all the specific legalities of this because I can't fathom, for instance, why the law of the land about unvaccinated travellers was not even considered in those hearings. So don't feel left out if you're a tad confused about how this unfolded. It's raised more questions than it's answered. But I do know a few things for sure. Between Tennis Australia, the Office of Home Affairs and the Federal Health Department, they've really missed the mark on Novak Djokovic. And I'm being kind. They've managed to bungle a case that was destined to cause friction right from the start. They couldn't have been given more notice. So why did Tennis Australia give unvaccinated players instructions on how to enter Australia and play this tournament? Their role in this requires deep scrutiny, and that should be very close down the track because it's embarrassed this country no end. Just scan the international headlines of this case, and we are the laughing stock of the world.
Is Australia a country that is based on the rule of law, or is it a country where governments can exercise arbitrary power? I mean, frankly, if that judgment this morning is overruled, what's the difference between Australia and a banana republic?
What I can see clearly is that in layman's terms, Djokovic has been released to play at the Australian Open on a major technicality. The pig-headed attitude from Border Force and immigration officials at Melbourne Airport last week has been the driver for this decision, not whether he was vaccinated or not. Because from yesterday's hearing, we discover how out of line they were to the degree they were trying to prevent him from talking to his lawyers. It's like something you'd find if you touched down in Belarus. And he wasn't given his chance to place his case against a move to cancel his visa. It is far from due process, which is why Djokovic won hands down, but it fails to address the elephant in the room. The fact that an unvaccinated traveller, a sporting superstar, gets to breach our COVID border laws. Whatever happened to the Victorian Premier's unambiguous demand that no unvaccinated player will enter his state and play in the Australian Open? Well, Chairman Dam came out of hiding today to flick past the entire drama back to the Federal Minister.
I think that Rafa and a few others have made the position very, very clear. This tournament is much bigger than any one person. The nature of quite extraordinary powers that are held by the Immigration Minister is that I'm not going to be out there every day calling for him to use them or not use them. That's a matter for him.
Talk about handballing a hospital pass. So much for his conviction on the unvaccinated. So does it mean that from today it's open slather? Can other unvaccinated travellers enter Australia? That would be no. But the Djokovic case is one hell of a precedent, and you can bet on the fact someone from somewhere will try it on. And where are the people from Otago? They're not off the hook either. Could they not have dealt directly with Tennis Australia almost a year ago to ensure a clear checklist of requirements could be ticked off on? Or is that too much to ask in this grossly bureaucratic world? As for Novak, he produced some kind of Serbian certification that was used as evidence to prove he tested positive to COVID on December 16 for the second time. Djokovic then spent 3 full days spreading the virus to scores of other people at events across Serbia. What does that say about the world's #1 tennis player? Selfish comes to mind, and that he couldn't care less. And when this was raised at a press conference featuring his mother, father and brother in Serbia, their lively press conference was brought to a sudden end.
Was he at an event on the 17th of December?
Okay, so this press conference is adjourned at the moment.
Is adjourned. Now, politically, where to now for the Immigration Minister? Silence for the entire day. I'm sure Alex Hawke has been bunkered down holding numerous high-level talks, but If he cancels the visa again, Australia will be damned on the international stage. If he doesn't, he'll be damned domestically, which isn't healthy as they get closer to a federal election. That's the politics involved. Public opinion is firmly in support of cancelling the visa again.
I work in the public healthcare system, so I guess I have frustration that someone with that level, I guess, of fame and fortune and accessibility to different services has been given what seems to be a different free pass.
I don't really think that he should get special exception just because he's a tennis player. I think that if everyone else is getting vaccinated, he probably should as well, because, you know, it's the rules, and just because he's famous doesn't mean he should get special exception.
I don't think it's very fair, because COVID's COVID, rules are rules. I don't think there should be exceptions no matter who you are or how much money you've got.
I'm not a fan. You know, for him to get into Australia, he should be vaccinated.
It was almost impossible for our reporter in Melbourne today to find someone who would stand up and back Djokovic to play. Now, there's very little wiggle room to save face from here. It's too far gone. The degree of embarrassment officials have caused can't be undone. There is speculation tonight that Djokovic may have lied on his entry form, claiming that he hadn't travelled in the 14 days leading up to his arrival in Melbourne. There is conflicting information about where he was within that period, Serbia and or Spain. But that investigation is unlikely to derail his current status. As for the Australian Open itself, I can only imagine what's to come. How are his loyal Serbian fans going to behave, given last night's violence? There'll be verbal clashes, more than usual, and there'll be lots and lots of tension. You can guarantee it'll get ugly, especially if by tournament's end, Djokovic wins the Australian Open. Put this down as a prime lesson in how not to deal with major sports stars and major sports events, because we've just become the world champions at that. And rules are rules, even when the unvaccinated arrive at one of our airports.